Hello, and welcome back to an Orange Future podcast, the quest for financial freedom, where I share my take on why I believe everyone should have some exposure to Bitcoin. So, in today's episode, I would like to give my take on what I believe a Bitcoin Maxi is. So if you would allow me just to share my screen. So what the heck is a Bitcoin Maxi? Well, before we dive into my take on a Bitcoin Maxi, I must make you aware of the following disclaimer that I'm not a financial advisor and this should not be taken as financial advice, purely entertainment. But the warning sign above is to emphasize that if you do go down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, it may possibly change the way you see money forever. From this point onwards, that's for sure. So, a Bitcoin Maxi is short for a Bitcoin maximalist. It's an individual who believes Bitcoin is the only cryptocurrency that is necessary. They see Bitcoin as superior to all other crypto, including Bitcoin treasuries. So why Bitcoin only? Bitcoin's superiority, the belief that Bitcoin's unique qualities, like being the first cryptocurrency, also with its capped fixed supply of 21 million. There is skepticism of all other cryptocurrencies, which are viewed as unnecessary and overly speculative in a casino type manner. And Bitcoin Maxis always have the long-term vision. They say Bitcoin not only as a hedge against inflation, but as a future global reserve currency. So what are the traits of a Bitcoin Maxi? Many Bitcoin Maxis heavily emphasize on the importance of self-custody and removing Bitcoin offline into a secure cold wallet. Remember the phrase, not your keys, not your coins. Bitcoiners' conviction will see them unfazed by any market corrections, noise, or drawdowns. In fact, they often see it as a buying opportunity, like a sale or discounted sats. It's hard to argue that if adopting a long-term strategy, what better asset is there to accumulate than Bitcoin? It has constantly outperformed real estate, gold, S&P 500, as well as the Magnificent Seven stocks over longer time frames. Although its short-term volatility will scare off many speculative investors that come on board for the number go up technology initially. But those that take the time to double down on the learning of this exciting new asset class end up staying for what they see is a peaceful revolution. So who's right or wrong? When you've spent a few years in the space, it becomes hard to deny that long-term hodlers, as they are known as, with their conviction to Bitcoin and the willpower to not deviate or have their head turned by shiny pennies in the shitcoin casino world known as altcoins, deserve the gains they achieve. I can only wish I'd seen the light earlier, before reminding myself we are still early. I personally would say that around 99% or above of people do not fully understand Bitcoin. So yes, although when you hear about the OGs cashing in some of their stack, we are definitely still early in this digital gold rush. So what am I? I describe myself as a Bitcoiner, although I have unresounding conviction to Bitcoin, and I see it as the hardest asset and best form of money ever created. I don't see myself as a Bitcoin Maxi. Having entered the crypto space during COVID, my strong conviction in Bitcoin finally arrived in 2022 after attending the first UK Bitcoin conference in Edinburgh. However, being based in the UK with our very and still unfriendly banking environment enforced by the FCA, it was challenging just to acquire Bitcoin. So my journey as a Bitcoiner, it's hard to spend time in the Bitcoin space or on X or YouTube and not come across this phenomenal Bitcoin Maxi called Michael Saylor. He played a massive part in my journey, from chasing the shiny penny from the crypto casino, hoping to pick a project that would go to the moon. In 2023, I made the decision to go fairly strong in my standards into the first and only significant Bitcoin treasury company, known then as MicroStrategy. Bitcoin, the asset, performed in its usual volatile fashion that year, up and down and generally sideways, until BlackRock and a number of large institutions filed for spot ETFs. But with BlackRock stepping into the arena, this was different and a huge moment for Bitcoin. TradFi of Wall Street, traditional finance, was bringing a more mainstream adoption for Bitcoin. Understandably, the price of Bitcoin rallied as expected. ETFs definitely changed the whole game. So 2024, the fundamentals of Bitcoin grew stronger than ever. The ETFs were all approved in Q1, and the sentiment moved to even more bullish. And the year saw Bitcoin reach several all-time highs, recovering all the gains lost from 2021. Bitcoin Maxis never stopped believing, and the majority of them would stick to their tried and tested stacking regime of holding on cold storage and refrain from moving their stack across to these traditional finance instruments under Wall Street's umbrella. The Bitcoin in 2024. Q4 saw more bullish news for Bitcoiners as well as a strong year for the asset. The US had seen a more crypto-friendly administration voted into power. MicroStrategy delivered what is now referred to as amplified Bitcoin performance. So for me, with the UK's somewhat ridiculous FCA-imposed regulations, my alternative option was to acquire shares in a Bitcoin proxy company. Under the UK's version, more tax-efficient wrappers in the UK would be known as a stocks and shares ISA or a pension like a SIP or a SAS. My belief in Michael Saylor's choice of strategy to hold in stocks in an ISA has paid off considerably. It was definitely an amplified return on Bitcoin. The Bitcoin Maxis, who are the top names? I can name a very large list, but three that jump out to me are Max Kaiser, a financial broadcaster from the Kaiser Report and now advisor to the president of El Salvador on all things Bitcoin related. Saifedean Ammous, author of The Bitcoin Standard. A book to many Bitcoiners is as influential as Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad has been to real estate investors. And then Adam Back, a British cypherpunk involved in several Bitcoin-related companies and is known to have had early email exchanges with the creator of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto. So a summary of a Maxi. Are they wrong? No. In my honest opinion, anyone that has grasped Bitcoin in its early days and got what the problem was deserves the long-term rewards. Most altcoins have capitulated and still show no sign of recovering. In the last year or so, Bitcoin has hit multiple all-time highs. A Maxi will continue holding through 80% drawdowns and bear markets, which is a test for even the hardiest of believers. The fundamentals of Bitcoin have never been greater. Adoption continues to grow as Wall Street has brought in products that allow you to have direct exposure to this new asset class that mean you can take the long-term view in your pension or ISA. So what's the difference between a Bitcoiner and a Bitcoin Maxi? When learning about the history of money, gold has been the hardest form of money for thousands of years. And in terms of uncertainty, people have always seen gold as a safe haven. There is no doubt gold has been very strong hedge against inflation, as well as money printing. Bitcoin, to me, is digital gold. Had I not discovered Bitcoin, I feel I would definitely be a gold bug. They share certain features, but are fundamentally different. But most of all, cannot be deflated by fiat currency. For a Maxi, Bitcoin is the solution and not a hedge. Then we move on to volatility. Volatility, however way you look at it, will always cause uncertainty and brings out the naysayers in their droves, rolling out all the tedious, repetitive put-downs like it's a bubble, it's going to zero, it's got no intrinsic value. Suddenly every one of these negative Nancy's become economic geniuses without offering any viable alternative other than gold. For some, the volatility is too much to stomach, and they will exit Bitcoin before FOMOing back in at the next market top. The alternatives like digital credit, dividend shares, and real estate will feel more comfortable to them. It doesn't mean you don't believe in Bitcoin, it just means you're not a maxi. So I would like to say thank you for listening, and I really appreciate your time, and time is finite like Bitcoin. If you enjoyed the content, I would just ask you to like and subscribe. It will make a massive difference for me in growing this channel. And also, I am creating a Bitcoin community of like-minded individuals who are looking for financial freedom. For early adopters, it will be just £5.50 plus VAT per month, and you can cancel anytime. Thank you for listening.